Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from paulthepoke.com, and welcome to This Week in Prophecy. We are April 18th, 2022. We got a busy night. We've got some things happening in our world as we speak. We're going to address those, and then obviously we'll keep a close eye on them over the next coming few days. We got a map here. Jerusalem, specifically the Western Wall here with the red cursor. And we're going to focus down here on the Gaza Strip. This happened about, an hour ago. Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, has begun striking targets in the Gaza Strip in response to a rocket that was fired earlier from Gaza and had been intercepted by the Iron Dome system over the Eshkol Regional Council. So, as we speak, I've seen some other stuff. We have IAF planes in the air, and it's been going on for about an hour. Missile fired out of the Gaza Strip, intercepted by Iron Dome. Israel is now responding, and we've had a busy week. We're going to zoom in on the Western Wall, specifically Jerusalem. Down here a little closer. Get a lay of the land right here. So we have, the main, here is the Western Wall. It's where all the Jews are usually praying. Here is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's actually not the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Dome of the Rock. There's the Dome of the Rock. And then you have the mosque down here to the south. It's got a silver dome, not a gold one. Google doesn't have their facts straight. Fact check that one. At any rate, we will be taking a look down here south and to the west of the Western Wall near the Dung Gate. And for the first time in a couple of years, they were starting to do this back in 2022. Passover sacrifice reenactment takes place despite threats of terror. So Monday, this would have been, I guess it would have been a year ago or a week ago Monday. The United Temple Movements organized a full-dress reenactment of the Passover sacrifice in preparation for reinstitution of the temple service. Now, of course, they don't have a temple, but we did have some priests who have been trained, and they carried out the sacrifice of the Paschal Lamb. So, and they do have a high priest, Rabbi Baruch Kahane, acted in the place of the high priest for the purposes of the reenactment. So they blew the silver trumpets, prepared for the use in the third temple, and the event was open to the public and held adjacent to the Western Wall near the Dung Gate. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of what actually took place. You can go up here, click on this. You can see a dry run of what happened. I can probably give you some highlights right here. It's 16 seconds of highlights. So they blow the silver trumpets. One of these videos does have a reenactment of sprinkling the blood on the, I guess you'd call it the altar there. But at any rate, this took place down in this area near the garden, near the southwest corner. The Dung Gate is where this took place. Now, that had some people fired up. Of course, we had some other people tried to sneak a lamb up there and sacrifice it. They were caught and fined. And then we had some groups trying to pay people to go up there on top of the Temple Mount and sacrifice a lamb. Thought that would be a neat thing to do. Not like we need to stir up any emotions up there on the Temple Mount. Palestinians are throwing rocks, as we can see. And then we're going to have video of some policemen or troops roughing up some Palestinians. And this is as of a couple of days ago. Our State Department, U.S. State Department, says it will continue to contact Israeli-Palestinian officials to de-escalate tensions after 185 injured. and police crackdown on Muslim rioting at Al-Aqsa. Well, they continue to riot. They continue to throw rocks. Um, Israeli Defense Forces, Israeli police continue to respond as well. And so it's been escalating. And then now we've got, going back to about an hour ago, we got some planes in the air and targeting places in the Gaza Strip. So, it's the holy month of Ramadan. We're in the midst of the spring feasts. Those ought to be close to being done. I think in about a week or about 3 or 4 days now. So this seems to be a happening every spring when we have violence on the Temple Mount with the religious holidays. So, in the backdrop of all this, we're going to focus a little bit, and this takes us to Ezekiel 38:39. For those of you not familiar, that will be Russia and friends when they decide to invade Israel from the north. I'm of the opinion Israeli gas will be the hook in the jaw, or the bait that sets the hook in the jaw. Ironic that this is actually out in the ocean. That brings Russia to Israel to want to take control of resources. European Union, is looking to stop Russia fuel imports. Israel sees an opening for its natural gas. Now, the problem is, though, right now, is Israel does not have a way to distribute these gas resources to Western Europe. Right now, they sell cheap gas to Egypt. Egypt processes the gas, converts it to liquefied natural gas, and then ships that via container across the Mediterranean to Europe. Now, Egypt kind of holds their nose because Israel has a ton of gas. They sell it to them cheaply, allows them to process it and sell it to Western Europe, and they make a buck or two off of it. So Israel, of course, has higher hopes, and they want to be a direct provider to Europe. Now, Europe wants to get off of Russian gas, they say, to phase out its dependency on Russian gas, oil, and coal by 2027. Israel has 1 to 3 different pipelines in mind by doing this, looking to take some to Turkey or Greece, and eventually, or through Cyprus. We can pull that up and take a look at that just to give everybody an idea of what's taken place. So the oil and gas is here off the coast of Tel Aviv, the Tamar and Leviathan gas fields. But you're looking to ship things to Cyprus or to Turkey or to Greece. And one of the big hubs in Greece would be this place called Thessaloniki. Those of you familiar with the New Testament, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, same place. And from there, it would be distributed to Western Europe. Also, some pipelines end up going to Italy for distribution to Western Europe via Italy. So that's some of the ideas behind that. Israel's looking at examining additional economic cooperation with an emphasis on the energy market. Turkey, whose ties recently they've been kind of chilly, but Turkey seems to have gotten religion. They want to reach out to Israel, take some of their gas and distribute it. They can make a buck or two as the middleman, is the idea. So Erdogan wants to make a couple of dollars there. Now, originally there was discussion about the East Med pipeline. Now, President Biden shot that idea down, thought it was too expensive. It's like, love how he ends up spending other people's money, but they would want a cut of it. They being the United States, and some of our companies. I believe Chevron has a piece in this. I think that's covered later in this article. But this was the East Med would be going through Cyprus and Greece with the distribution. So there to there, and then to Western Europe. So Cyprus, Greece, Thessalonica, which they've had several meetings in Thessalonica regarding these particular issues. So you can see how that would work in that sense. Of course, Turkey's opposed to this because they wouldn't have anything going through Turkey if they went with the East Med pipeline. Nearly 1,000 billion cubic meters. So that'd be a trillion, I believe, roughly. Forgive me if my math is wrong. It's a lot of natural gas, is my point. Also, let's get down here. Turkey was examined. Project didn't reach fruition mainly due to economic reasons. Now, the East Med pipeline is still an option, and the company advancing it, Poseidon, is in the final stages of geophysical and geotechnical surveys of the pipe's route in our waters and those of Greece and Cyprus. Now, it's estimated that would cost up to $6 billion for the East Med pipeline. Turkey thinks they can pull theirs off for $1 or $2 billion. So they're more of an economic, it's more viably economically. Chevron is involved, yes. Is Israel's Leviathan field be a source for the European exports operated by an Israeli-American consortium, including NewMed Energy and Chevron. So anyhow, the issue gets to be is how are you going to pay for it? You need to find a customer that will agree to pay for this very, very expensive pipeline, and they won't do it until you show them you found enough gas to justify it. So Israel's trying to get the customer to help foot the bill for the gas distribution. So that's their catch-22. There's plenty of natural gas, and there is the pipeline to Turkey would cost 1.5 billion and would take 2 to 3 years to build, so it'd get done faster. And Israel says they have enough gas to export through 3 channels: Greece, Turkey, and Egypt at the same time. So no problem. And the reason this is happening is because of what's taken place in Ukraine. Russia does not, or Western Europe does not want to have to depend on Russia for their energy. So this was written on the 12th of April. And then we get this 3 days later out of the Russian Foreign Ministry. And this is from Intel Sky. Russian Foreign Ministry, in violation of numerous Security Council and UN General Assembly resolutions, the Israeli government continues the illegal occupation and continuous annexation of Palestinian territories. So, Israel states openly in the press, hey, we're thinking about building a pipeline to distribute gas, energy resources to Western Europe. 3 days later, Russia says, you guys are violating UN General Assembly resolutions and Security Council resolutions. And then they put this up through Intel Sky. I want to say this is through a Arab news outlet. I can't read Arabic for the original source, but that took place. And then just another thing, whereas we have information breaking out of the Gaza Strip where Israel is launched some operations at targets inside the Gaza Strip. This happened earlier today. A major Russian offensive has begun in Donbas. Alexei Danilov, secretary of, I'll pass, press secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, said this morning an active phase of the Russian offensive began almost along the entire front line in Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kharkiv regions. The occupiers tried to break through our defenses. And so for those of you not familiar with Ukraine, that would be this region up here. Here's Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kharkiv. So Russia is pushing in from the east, moving to the west into eastern Ukraine with a second offensive. And that started today. And as I started this, I saw bombing was picking up in Kyiv. Sirens were going off. So it would appear things are escalating again in Ukraine, as well as we have escalation of events in the Gaza Strip. And from the Middle East and Eastern Europe, we're going to move to China. And this is from Dr. Eric Ding. He's an epidemiologist and health economist, global health security. And this was his tweet as of April 9th, 9 days ago. It's gotten worse since this was first tweeted. China's grip on BA2, at least 23 cities in China on full or partial lockdown, cities with over 193 million residents. Food shortages throughout even Shanghai. Doctors and nurses are exhausted. Doctor collapsed and they were carried off by patients at an isolation center. So there's the video of the events. For those of you who have not seen this, you got to. This is just over the top. Video is taken. It says yesterday. This would have been taken on the 8th. And so they have all these people locked up in these apartments in Shanghai. People are screaming out their windows after a week of total lockdown. And so it's gotten worse. This was a week ago. So now we're pushing 2.5, 3 weeks. They've got people locked up. They're not letting them out. The government says they will deliver the food, which of course they can't to everyone. You got people starting to starve. Lacking just general provisions, food, water, medicine. And people are getting understandably antsy. I did see this today. This is very, very creative. Actually, this is not what I thought this was. This is a map of from Scott Gottlieb, Shanghai and near total lockdown. This is a map of commercial ships currently waiting offshore to be loaded and offloaded of goods. And this will exacerbate global supply chains. So things are going to get tighter, which is going to probably lead to more inflation. So any goods coming out of China to the United States are going to be further delayed, not only to the United States, but to around the planet. And they're thinking this may be the largest supply shock yet due to the lockdowns in Shanghai as related to COVID. So not going to help things. And then with all of that, you have rising interest rates, you have food shortages emerging. United States is looking to raise interest rates. We had this out of Sri Lanka. This is from Keith McCullough at Hedgeye. Sri Lanka's Ministry of Finance said Tuesday it would default on all its foreign debt in an attempt to preserve dwindling foreign exchange it needs for vital food, fuel, and medicine imports. So you have Sri Lanka defaulting on its debt. And that's the thing, too, as interest rates go up, a lot of debt is financed in dollars. So debt is becoming more expensive for some of these places. And I think we're just starting to see some real ripple effects from some of this stuff take place, as a result of what's happened in Russia and Ukraine. Interest rates rising, making the cost of money more expensive. You have supply disruptions out of Shanghai, the largest port in the world. And with that, you're starting to see what happens to our planet and our macroeconomic global system. So definitely will keep you up to date with everything that's going on, specifically the happenings in and around the Gaza Strip. Israeli Defense Forces are on the move, and it also would appear that we have Russian military on the move. I missed this one. This is fascinating. Uh, Google Maps has stopped hiding Russian military and strategic sites on Google Maps. All military and strategic sites of Russia are available at the maximum resolution of about zero point 0.5 meters per pixel. And so they showed the aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov. But there's a whole bunch of these that got released today, and I'm like, uh-oh. Looks like big tech's choosing some sides. So who knows if they decide to do it or if they were encouraged by the United States government. I don't know. But at any rate, you can now take a look at military and strategic sites of Russia. They are available on Google Maps now. So not going to make those folks happy either. And that's kind of a bit of a joke, if you will. I'm sure we got satellites that can see that stuff. We don't need Google to take a look and see what's going on with Russia. But it makes them nervous. More people looking at their stuff, and that's from OSINT, Open Source Intelligence. So was the one that put this out. So appreciate you guys following along. Busy week. Looks like we got some things escalating in regards to conflict in the Gaza Strip and in eastern Ukraine. Appreciate you guys following along. Take care. Bye.